Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about how the Fast and Furious movies need to come to an end because Vin Diesel has ran that franchise into the ground, or should I say into outer space. So earlier this year, I was gonna make a Fast and Furious movie talking about how like people need to stop ragging on the second movie because I liked the second movie a lot. It was the first one I saw. I get really tired of seeing people talking about, oh, it's the worst one they've ever seen and blah blah blah, stuff like that. But then I got like caught up in more videos I was making and I just ran out of time, so I just said screw it. Then with the what was it? The Fast and Furious 9 movie, the one where they went into outer space, and then like the one where I read an article about Vin Diesel and his behavior on set. I was gonna make a movie talking about it needs to end, but I got caught up again in my videos and I just ran out of time and I said screw it. But then I saw an article that says Gal Gadot is gonna return to the Fast and Furious movies. And I'm just kind of like, hold up, she did. So this is going to be the third resurrection and everything in the Fast and Furious movies. And I said, you know what? Now it's time to make this video because I just can't take it no more. And even though I still got tons of more videos to make with the audios there, I just have to make the pictures. I'm like, you know what? I can put that on the back burner and I can make this video. So, Fast and Furious. I love these movies, or at least I used to. They came out all the way back in 2001. Can you believe that? 21 years ago. That is insane. And it's still going on till this day. They're about to have 11 movies total. And so at one point in time, these movies were really good, but these movies have evolved, and sometimes some of these movies' entries were really sucky, and to the point where fans got irritated. They got irritated so much by the third one, they decided to softly reboot it in the fourth movie. See, it used to be called, the first one was called The Fast and Furious, but then when the fourth movie was called Fast and Furious, we should have paid more attention to that. It was a soft reboot of sorts. And then it evolved from street racing all the way to like a spy action packed movie. Yeah, so weird. How do you go from street racing to like a spy movie? That don't make no sense. But for whatever reason, it worked. Fans really dig this new style of an action-packed spy genre and everything, turning street racers into spy agents. Weird, but somehow it worked. Only problem is the timeline. See, the third movie shows the death of Han. And so Han was a new character introduced in the third movie. Many people didn't like the second one. I love it. I think it's a great like summer flick. It's flashy. The cars are amazing. The new cast is cool. And it's just really flashy and you have a good time. And then the third movie came out and none of the original cast members showed up in the third movie except for Vin Diesel towards the end in a cameo. And he only did that so he can get the rights back to his Pitch Black movies. Now, in the second movie, only two recurring characters show up. The FBI agent dude from the first movie and Brian. Because for whatever reason, Vin Diesel didn't want to do the second movie. After that, he just went on to do Triple X. Now, back when I was in college, when these movies were coming out, I saw the second one first and then the first one second. I have a habit of doing that. And I will admit, the first one is more grounded, has a way better story, and it's really cool. But the second movie is just like cars, 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 flashy, 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 going really, really fast and boom, boom, boom. And I love it. And John Singleton, he even said the cars are like characters in the movie. That's why he wanted them to look as good as he did and flashy. But a lot of people had problems. Oh, these are imported cars. These aren't American cars like the first movie. So people got pissed about that. Who cares? It's a car movie and they look really cool. And it was set in Miami. So you expect to see a lot of flashy cars there and stuff. So with the third one, they went all the way to Tokyo with Tokyo Drift. And a lot of people never even heard of drifting. But drifting looks really cool. Now, I personally have never seen the third movie. I'm too terrified to see the third movie. I mean, Bow Wow's in that movie. Like, he can't act. And stuff. And I don't want to see a Vin Diesel cameo. But the second movie had a lot of flair to it. It introduced us to a lot of characters with a big personalities, and it worked. And Tyrese Gibson, who played Tyrone, I think his name is. No, Roman. Yeah, he played Roman and everything. He was like the new Vin Diesel substitute, and he worked perfectly in that second movie. He was angry, he was moody, he could drive cars. He looked really good in that that purple spider car he had. And like, he was a really good substitute for Vin Diesel, and he was still coming off of Bad Boy or Baby Boy. God, it's been a long time since that movie came out. Baby Boy and everything. And John Singleton, of course, was the director for that too. And so because of that reception of the second movie, people didn't like it. Like I said before, they went to the third movie. Then people hated the third movie. And then they decided to soft reboot it and bring Vin back. Now, back when I was in college, this girl I used to be friends with, she said that Vin Diesel hates the idea of doing sequels. Now, I'm no longer friends with her because of many reasons. One, she's an idiot, and two, she lies a lot. However, what she said back then made a lot of sense. He did the first Fast movie, he didn't want to do the second. Then he only came back for the third as a cameo. He did the first Pitch Black movie at some point in time before Fast Furious. And so then he left that for like Fast and Furious. And then he left Fast Furious and all that for Triple X. And then he left that. And then next thing you know, he kept coming back to the movies that made him famous. He came back to Fast and Furious with the fourth movie. He came back to the Chronicles of Riddick. He came back to the Triple X movies and stuff. After the second Triple X movie didn't do so well. And so and then of course there's the Marvel Guardians movies and stuff. And when he came back to the fourth Fast and Furious movies, it was a little confusing because Han was in that movie, but he was only there for like a small bit. So it turns out that movie was set in the past before Tokyo Drift. In fact, a lot of the movies was set in the past. All the way into the sixth. By the seventh movie, I think we got into the actual present. The problem with that is that only because Vin showed up Vin and Han showed up. What's his name? Dom and Han showed up in the third. People really didn't take too much care to the rest of the the cast aging and everything. And so, but there was a problem. Cell phones and cars. The third movie was set so far in the past, realistically, that a lot of that stuff became outdated. And so with the newer movies, they had newer cars and newer cell phones, and people was kind of like, well, what year is this set in? And so after the fourth movie, that should have been the end right then and there. But no, it made so much money, they wanted to keep on and keep on and keep on. Around this time, this is when Vin became a producer of the Fast and Furious movies. And with each new installment started to sound like fan fiction. Why? Because basically it kind of was. Like the whole them going out into outer space. I will get into that a little bit later because that is literally fan fiction. I kid you not. And so with the fifth movie, it started to change and everything. A little bit in the fourth. In the fourth movie, it was a nice revenge story. We saw what happened to Dom and Letty after the events of the first movie. And how they went their separate ways. She ended up dying. And then Dom and Brian wanted revenge. Brian ends up leaving the police force again. And that's the interesting thing about the Fast and Furious movies is this started off as race car movies. A gang of race car thieves stealing stuff, and the cops trying to stop them. So they recruited a cop to, like, infiltrate them and everything. We got to learn a lot about street racing, which we thought died out in the 1950s, but still going on to this day. Car shows, this and that. Because, street racing was relegated to things like NASCAR and stuff. But then, there's another element to it. It's like car shows and people like talking about, oh man, my rims look better than yours and this and that. I remember one time, a crazy time in college, I was home for the summer. And me and my friend went downtown. We got like abandoned by another friend. So we were stranded downtown. We didn't have no cell phones at that time. And so we were just walking around downtown trying to get back to the campus, which was many, many, many miles away. At some point, we realized we weren't going to do it. So after trying to walk all that night, we somehow just ended up just like staying up all night, walking around downtown, calling a friend the next morning and picking us up, taking us back and everything. And so, no, wait, we were home for college. So we were trying to get to one of our houses and stuff, but couldn't. So then, like, next thing you know, like, here I am, sleepy, tired, been up all night. I'm trying to go to sleep, and then another friend of mine's come over that morning. Yo, let's go to the beach. I'm like, all right. I was in my 20s, so I didn't care. Stayed up all night, walking around, went to the beach the next day, had a great time, and then we were finna leave the beach. And what happened? A car show came in, and it blocked traffic for over an hour. So we're just waiting there, talking, listening to music, getting irritated and everything. But there is like another life to this whole street racing thing. And these movies really introduced that. And then it was so cool when they hit the NOS and then the cars went into like Star Trek, like warp speed and everything. It was just cool. And what made the movie so cool was all the street racing. That's why I love the second movie so much. But then, at some point, you can't always just make a movie about street racing and gangsters and people stealing money and all this other stuff. At some point, it evolved. And when it evolved into drifting, people didn't like that. And then it evolved into a revenge movie in the fourth movie. And it was kind of like a really cool mobster like movie with little street racing and stuff. Sure, they still had cars and they went fast and everything, but it was cool. And I don't remember if Giselle, the Gal Gadot character, made out with Vin or not. But if she did or did anything like kickly clackly and everything with him, that would be messed up because Letty was dead. And so, like, if he's trying to avenge her memory, then why is he messing around with other females? So then, next thing you know, the fifth movie comes out. And so, like, with the fifth movie, I didn't particularly like that. We saw what happened to Brian and his people as they're on the run, because they're on the run again, because Brian just had to save Dom for, like, not going to prison and everything. They should have just ended it with the fourth movie. But then they did the fifth movie, I think was in South America, and then they did that big like bank heist type thing and tricking the mob and all this other stuff. And then certain things started coming unrealistic. Like them driving around town with a giant like bank safe on chains. It looked cool, but it's so unrealistic. But then again, in the fourth movie, it was a little bit of unrealism and stuff. Like when Vin tried to catch Letty and he drove real fast. No. I'm thinking of another movie. Vin did something in the fourth movie in the beginning. His Dom character that was so unrealistic, but people just went with it, right? But then, like, the fifth movie came, and then The Rock showed up. And I remember when The Rock showed up, I'm like, oh, God, not The Rock. He can't act. And so, but see, here's the thing. Rock and Vin Diesel are so similar. They have a similar look. They got huge muscles. They have huge egos. And they both can't act. But to give credit to Vin, he can act a bit better than The Rock, because he's been doing it a whole lot longer. And so that fight scene between those two in the movie was awesome and everything. And then the sixth movie came out. Because at some point in time, all of Brian's people were not in the fourth and fifth Fast and Furious movies, which was really depressing. I really liked them and stuff. Maybe Taj was in the fifth. I can't really remember. It's been a good while since I saw the fifth one. I only saw it one time. And then, so like in the sixth movie, everybody I knew had came back. All of Brian's people minus the two Asian people. Is that kind of weird that like those two were left out? Especially Suki. Man, I love Suki in her car. She needs to come back. But then, Han was back, so he was like the only Asian person there. And so at this point in time, Michelle Rodriguez kind of like, well, crap, dude. I thought these movies was gonna end after like the fourth, and so her character's dead. So what happened? A little resurrection. She didn't die. She just got thrown halfway across like the field and lost her memory. It's like, okay, whatever. We'll buy it. See, we should have never accepted that. If we didn't accept that, then all the other resurrections would never have happened. So the sixth movie is about her being a bad girl, working for like a mobster type dude or a terrorist type dude, and then trying to get her memory back. I really enjoyed the sixth movie. It was a great action movie, but it had a lot of unrealistic stuff in there. And one of the biggest mistakes, other than bringing back Michelle Rodriguez, was bringing in Gina Carano, an MMA fighter at that time who cannot act and still can't act to this day. And she is scum. And so, like, it's kind of like, why? Why are you bringing in somebody who can't act? And so, like, but it was a great action movie. But it was very unrealistic to believe that Michelle Rodriguez can beat up an MMA fighter. But it wouldn't be the first time. And so, like, of course, The Rock came back. And you know what? I'm going to give The Rock some credit. The sixth Fast and Furious movie, I actually liked his acting in that. It wasn't perfect, but it was a whole lot better than what it normally is. Thor's wife has now been added into these movies with the fifth movie, and stuff like that. And she was Dom's lover in the fifth movie. So, of course, now in the sixth, those two have broken up. She's barely in it. And, like, what is it? Letty is back. But Letty's not fully back. Her memories are still gone. Now, what's that dude from the Blade movie? He was in the fifth movie and he died. So that was like, it was nice to see what happened to his character. There's only been one person from the first Fast and Furious movie has never reappeared. And that's the dude who was always on the police radar thing. Like, to see where the cops be at and stuff. He has never returned. And so like, but I like the sixth movie a lot. The one main problem is when Dom went to go catch Letty, he sped up the car. He hit like a curb and then he flew out the windshield and he caught Letty and then they landed on the ground over the bridge. That is so unrealistic and everything. Also, what was unrealistic is at the very end when he like stomped on the ground and it like collapsed and everything and killed like the bad guy. And that made no sense. But Giselle died, sadly, in that movie. And I really like Gal Gadot's character in that one. And then Han's all like, oh, I heard there's some like really cool things in Tokyo, so he gonna start drifting. And then we get the end sequence when he dies. And when he dies, it sets up like now the current events in the present day. And so we found out who killed him. One of the Shaw brothers. I think it's Decker Shaw or something like that. I can't remember. And so he wanted revenge for the death of his brother. So this set up for the seventh movie. I hate the seventh movie. The seventh movie, in my opinion, is just not that great. And Ronda Rousey, another MMA fighter, is in that movie. And it's kind of like, she can't act. She really can't. And how is Michelle Rodriguez able to beat an MMA fighter is beyond me. But these movies started getting more and more and more and more into the spy genre and less about car racing. And tell you the truth, the cars now, if people complain about the cars in the second movie, how are you not complaining about the cars in these current movies? They are literally sci-fi action, like tank vehicles and everything, and they make absolutely no sense. And at some point in time, I can't remember which one, but in one of the movies, um, 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 Dom has a kid by Thor's wife and everything. And it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of convenient. And like, you're with Letty now, and Letty doesn't remember her memories, but for whatever reason, she now likes Dom and everything. And oh, I forgot to give out the main thing that kind of ruined these movies. Personalities started to change. Like, Ty and Roman, their personalities just completely just changed and everything. Roman was no longer that angry, like grumpy person, and now he's just comedic relief. And so with Ty, he is now a super genius and everything. We didn't see that in the second movie, but now all of a sudden he's like the tech person and he's really smart. So that's kind of cool that they made him the smart person, but why him? Because it's kind of like that don't make no sense. But then they introduced a new character, a female called Ramsey. And Ramsey is super smart and into the high tech stuff. So now, for some bizarre reason, they have two high tech people on the team, and Ramsey doesn't get shown that much doing like all the cool stuff because Ty is the main tech person. And so that was always kind of weird. It's like you can't just change a person's personality in a movie just to suit your needs. And I feel bad for the Roman character because once Dom came back, well, they didn't want two grumpy, mean, like muscular, like bad boys and everything. So one got belittled into like literally the comedic relief. And there's no point for Roman to ever be in these movies no more because he doesn't serve a purpose because he's no longer the Dom character. And if they're going to introduce Ramsey as the smart tech person, there is no reason for a Ty to show up in any of these movies no more. And so, like, but now, of course, you have like Tyrese Gibson pissing people off when black people was dying in the streets by the hands of white cops talking about real black people had white slaves in Africa. Dude, what that got to do with black people getting shot in America? Ugh, I swear to God. So anyway, with these movies now that started getting so unrealistic, tragedy hit in the seventh movie. The character who plays Brian, Paul Walker, sadly and tragically died in real life in a car fire. And it was right then and there they should have ended the movies and or at least ended the Brian character, but they didn't. What did they decide to do? They kept Brian alive for him to say, you know what? I'm here to help you, Dom, and then whatever you need with Dom's all like, nah, man, you a family man now. So you and Mia, y'all just need to be like a family and raise your kid. So they drive off into the sunset and everything, drifting apart. And that caused problems because it's kind of like, okay, well, if these movie franchises are all supposed to be about family and everything, as they keep saying, well, then when Dom and his people are in danger, where's Mia and Brian at? You know what I'm saying? So it makes Brian kind of look like I don't know, kind of like a bad person for not wanting to help out his family and stuff. So this is why exactly they should have just killed off the Brian character and ended the franchise. But no, they wanted more money and stuff. And so next thing you know, with all these new installments, now all of a sudden people's personalities are shifting once again. People are coming back from the dead, and with the eighth movie, Dom is now like the bad guy. He's being blackmailed and everything, and he's being blackmailed by this like international like terrorist woman and stuff. Decker, no, I don't know what her name is. I forget her name, and Charlize Theron or whatever her name is playing that character. Cypher, that's it. And so then, they started having more action scenes that were more unrealistic. The Rock and Vin Diesel were having personal beef behind the scenes to where they kept trying to one up each other in the eighth movie by trying to be like the strongest Superman Hercules person they could be, making once again the action scenes look unrealistic. Then in the eighth movie, The Rock said, screw it, I'm gonna stop acting and just act like The Rock. And so, like, of course, Thor's wife died, and then Letty gets her memories, and Dom is turned out to be like, the daddy of her kid, and all this other crap. And it's just kind of like it just started getting so muffled. And then things just started to get even more worse. Because then The Rock and Vin Diesel couldn't get along, so The Rock spun off in his own movie franchise. Now, what was so messed up about the eighth movie, it turns out one of the Decker brothers is, I don't know if he died in one previous movie, but he's alive now. So actually, he's the fifth person to get resurrected. And now the Shaw brothers are now good guys. And now they're helping out Dom and his team. But wait, the Shaw brothers have been literally trying to kill them for the past couple of movies. And not only that, but they killed Han. And so, like, how? It's like the whole Negan Walking Dead thing. How can you forgive them and they killed Han? And people kept saying that. And so then you have Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off movie, which The Rock just acted like The Rock in that movie. And I never saw that. But then once I saw the trailer, I'm like, is Idris Elba, is he wearing a tactical exosuit that's giving him superpowers? Oh, I think he is. And it just started becoming more and more unrealistic. And then since that movie didn't do well and people were starting to laugh at the Fast and Furious movie, they like, hey, let's bring Han back. It's like, no, he died. Oh, we don't care. He's working for like the CIA or something like that. I did not see the ninth movie. Once I saw that trailer of Han being alive, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. Because I was done. And then, like, of course, they went into space in that movie. Why? Well, it's fan fiction. All these movies lately have been fan fiction. Superhuman strength, them doing spy espionage, all that other stuff. And so, like, these movies that literally turned into Triple X, which was another franchise Vin Diesel was a part of. And with the whole fan fiction thing, this is how this started with the whole space thing. A fan online said something like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if they were to go into outer space? Vin Diesel, who's a producer, saw that and he's like, oh, outer space, let's do it. And they went into outer space. He listened to a fan who was probably just joking and took it realistically and put it in the movie. Now, at one point in time, there was an article put out about Vin Diesel, how a lot of his castmates just don't like him personally. And not only him, but this all started when The Rock made that statement talking about unprofessionalism on the Fast and Furious movie. Nobody knew who he was talking about, and it turned out to be Vin Diesel. And so, like, there have been reports that Vin and Paul Walker at one point in time couldn't get along. There's been reports that Vin changes the script at the last minute, not giving people time to prepare. There are rumors that he parties and drinks all night. There are rumors that, like, he brings his entourage on, like, with him, living in, like, the trailer. And just all kind of unprofessional behavior and everything, because he is now a diva and everything. His ego is too huge. And it shows in these movies because the qualities of these movies are just laugh out loud ridiculous. And I remember when this article came out, I'm just like, I wonder, because him and Michelle Rodriguez used to be so close. I think they even probably dated at some point in time, but they broke up. So, the woman who plays Mia and Michelle Rodriguez who plays Letty, I always follow them online. And I'm kind of curious. I'm like, do they follow Vin Diesel? So I follow Vin Diesel on Twitter at one point in time and Instagram. I did the whole mutual thing. And lo and behold, none of those female actresses follow Vin Diesel. Now, I don't know if they follow him now, but back then they was not following him. So I'm starting to think that article might have been some truth to that. And now with this last two installments with Fast X and in the 11th movie, why 11th movie? Because Vin Diesel wants to end it, but he wants to break it into two parts. And so he's going to put it into part 10 and part 11. And of course, if it does well, chances are in the future, it will probably come back. Tons of movies do that. The Saw movies did it. The Resident Evil franchise did it. Money, money, money is all people care about. And now, all of a sudden, Gal Gadot... Oh, I forgot to get into the dumbest twist of them all. Dom and Mia have a brother in the form of John Cena. He has never been mentioned ever in these movies, but apparently he existed this entire time. You just can't throw a character in there like that and say he's related to you without him ever being mentioned in the slightest form. And it's like he has a brother now, and of course his brother is also evil, and his brother is also one of those like terrorist type people. And this is like, come on now. This is fan fiction. And lately, now in the 10th movie, tons of comic book stars are now in this movie. Roker, Momoa, like, and it's just like, why are you bringing all these like comic book superhero actors and actresses now in the franchise? Oh, because people like those people. Jason Momoa is gonna be in this. I think his name Mike Roker or whatever. He's gonna be in the 10th movie, and Gal Gadot is returning in this movie because Han's alive. How is she alive? I thought she got blown up and ran over or something. Cause I remember I think she fell on the ground and we saw a flame or something. She's dead, but she's now back alive. And it's kind of like, this is not a horror movie. People just don't come back from the dead. And so these movies are getting so unrealistic now. It is beyond belief. Something that was fun, like a bunch of gangsters driving around in fast cars and stealing, has now turned into spy, espionage, outer space travel, military, combat skills, and of course, rising from the dead. And I'm just kind of like, I'm done, man. I'm not watching the 10th movie. I'm not watching the 11th movie. Villains don't matter because they just turn good after a while. And, I'm just done. And then there's the whole Brian situation. What are they going to do? If Mia shows up, it's going to make Brian look like a terrible person. I swear to God about this franchise. And it used to be so cool, so good. It was so different back in the day. It was fun. And they had a bunch of copycat movies that never got a sequel. They even made a spoof movie out of the Fast and Furious, which was actually pretty funny at times. And of course, because it's a spoof, it was stupid at times. But it was actually pretty funny and stuff. And, they need to end this. They just need to end this. They just need to end this franchise and never look back. See, if we never accepted the fact that they're now like spy like people, they would have never kept on with that. If we never accepted Letty coming back from the dead, then they would have never start bringing back all these other people from the dead. If they never, or we never, like, the whole, like, Cypher, and Cypher's in this new movie now, the 10 and the 11 one. And it's just kind of like, why are they bringing back the same recurring villain? I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. How are street racers so much smarter than the CIA, the FBI, all these people? How are they that smart? I don't get it. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.